Hello and welcome to another episode of Reach the Masses podcast, a show about two friends talking about the pop culture that they love. I'm Travis.
And I'm Heather.
We are at episode 8.
We've made it to 8.
Almost to double digits.
8 is great.
8 is great. Today's episode, we will be discussing a book review, summer readings. We're going to each talk about a book that the other one has not read and just kind of sell it to the other, I guess would be the best way. Just kind of give you some little bit about it. We're not going to try to spoil anything, so we don't have to do spoilers.
Yeah.
And then we'll discuss a book that we've both read or enjoyed. And enjoyed. You can read it and enjoy it. We'll do both.
Yeah. I tend to do both. Well, okay. Maybe not always. Some things I finish on principle. But
I don't think I've ever done that. I don't know if I've ever walked away from a book just because it was bad.
No.
No, I take that back. Perfect Storm. I could not finish that. Could not. It was for school in English class, accelerated reading class or whatever, but I just could not finish it.
Couldn't finish it. There were several books in a LGBT lit class that I just skimmed over rather than read. But, that's neither here nor there.
Okay, so, and then after that, we will review, we're done reviewing, we will do a couple rounds of Would You Rather. And Heather has converted me. As we're doing this, I am shuffling the deck on mine.
And I've already got mine good and shuffled.
So let's kick it off with some book reviews. Heather, do you want to go first?
Sure.
Okay.
The book I have chosen for this particular podcast is by an author called Sarah Waters. It's called The Night Watch.
Okay.
It was published back in 2006. I've only read it twice. Only. I tend to, reread books quite a lot.
See, I don't do that.
I do. If I love a book, I'll...
Even if it's a book, I have reread books and I have re-listened to books on audiobooks.
Yeah.
But for the most part, usually I read it once and then I'm done.
No, I love to tell myself that story and hear that story or read that story over and over and over. So this also, following that line of thought, also has a movie because the BBC tends to make all of Sarah Waters' books into movies. Okay. And they did this one in 2011.
So have you watched it?
I did watch it.
And? We should have been on the first podcast where we were talking about adaptations.
Yeah, I don't remember a lot about it, though, to be honest.
Remember the book.
Yeah, I remember the book.
The movie, not so much.
But whenever I was going back to refresh my memory on the book, I ran across the movie adaptation, and I was like, oh, yeah, I remember that. And I was like, not very well.
Anyone in the TV show that we would know from other stuff, like Doctor Who or anything else?
There could be. I didn't look up any of the actors.
Okay. Was it called the same thing?
It is. It's called The Night Watch.
Okay.
It was a made-for-TV movie on the BBC.
So probably not that big of a budget.
I don't know. BBC's, they do Doctor Who.
And when did it come out?
2011.
Okay. So what's the basic story then?
Well, this book is cool for one solid reason. There are many other reasons this book is cool, but this is like the most solid one. And it takes place in reverse.
Okay.
It starts out in 1947.
Okay.
And you get the end of the story where all the characters have ended up.
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes to 1944. And it takes place location-wise in London. Obviously during the war. I just said 1944. And then it ends at the beginning of the story in 1941.
Okay.
So it's divided into 3 sections. And all the characters in it they're connected, even if they don't realize they're connected.
There's some sort of loose connection.
Yeah, in maybe just some small way. Like one of the characters has something tragic happen to her, and the other character is there and kind of saves her life.
Right.
But they're not, like, that doesn't bring them together in any major way. It's just like, they were there for that one moment, that incident, and then that's it.
Right.
and then you, at the beginning, which is the end, a moment happens, and you don't understand that moment until you get to the ending / beginning of the book.
Okay.
Like, one of them hands the other one a ring.
Okay.
And you don't know the significance of that. You know it's significant because it's mentioned, but you don't know why it's significant until you get to 1941. And another thing, since the book is in reverse,
Where did you told me the year? Where does it take place?
London.
London. Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Post-war and during the war.
Right.
You made me lose my train of thought. Where was I going with that? No, you're good.
You talking about the ring and then the importance and everything.
Let's see. Where was I going with that? She hands her a ring. You don't know why. Then you find out at the beginning / end why it was significant. But there's 4 main characters that it follows. Kay is she was an ambulance driver during the war, which that would have taken place in like 1944, the 1944 section of the book. But opening in 1947, she mainly just kind of walks around London and reminisces. And she's known for, she gets a lot of odd looks, and it's mentioned in the book because she dresses very masculine, especially for 1947. But then there's Helen, who in 1947 runs this matchmaking agency with this other woman called Viv, who is, and this is where it's going to get a little iffy, maybe, is the woman who Kay had the encounter with the ring. And you don't know why until 1941.
Okay.
Till you get back to 1941. But they work together, and then there's Viv's brother, Duncan, who was in prison for a few years through the book, and then he now takes care of a prison guard. It's kind of a nudge, wink, wink relationship that he has with this guard. It's a male guard. And he works at a candle factory, and the guard is an old man, and he calls him Uncle Horace in public, but they're not actually related. It's more of a, it only has homosexual undertones. There's nothing overtly homosexual in their relationship. So I don't really know how to describe it without saying that you could almost say it was the old Greek mentor-mentee relationship, but without the, the sexual aspect, I guess.
Right.
Because there's nothing.
It's nothing overt. It's
all
hinted at.
Yeah, it's all under the water. There's nothing overt. And I almost remembered what I was saying a minute ago. Oh, that's what it was. Because the book takes place in reverse, you cannot. Sarah Waters made it to where with these characters, you cannot rely on their memory, because they're not going to remember these things because it's happening in reverse.
Right.
You're getting the end of the story, and then, it's as you're going through, you're like, well, we're moving backwards through time. So, and as fans of Doctor Who, I thought that might interest you, because it
kind of like Memento.
Yes, kind of like Memento, just without instant cameras.
Right.
Which would be like today without instant cameras.
Well, no, I just meant like Memento started.
Yeah.
The movie started at the end.
At the end,
then it worked back to the beginning. Yeah. Yes.
That's exactly what this book does. It was published by Virago. I should mention that. Let's see. It was nominated for several awards and won several awards, actually. And of course, Sarah Waters, her work tends to be very Dickensian in execution. And this one isn't really. It's not like Fingersmith or Affinity or Tipping the Velvet, which are her previous novels to this one. And also, this is the first one she wrote that took place in an era that wasn't Victorian England, which was a big change of pace for her.
Okay. So, how did you stumble across it? I mean, was it just that you've read her other stuff and this was just continuing on with it?
Oh, yeah, because she could write down, dribble, and I would read it.
Okay, well, what's her style? I mean, obviously, not going into too much detail, but I mean, is it each character you get to know what, is it like from their point of view each time?
It's third person.
Okay.
It's set in third person.
Okay. Does she do more, some authors go into like every minute detail of describing an area, or does she paint broad strokes and let you fill in the...
Yeah, she paints it broadly. She lets you know the generalness of what's going on and the generalities in environment. I mean, not as general as, say, like Stephen King, because he paints with very broad strokes,
I don't know. That one book
but
I read
not
was
as
really good.
Intricate as like Anne Rice.
Right.
Like it falls somewhere in the middle between those two with
I don't know, Stephen
environment
King,
details.
One of his that I read, that 11/22/63, was really good, and I guess you are right. He does do some broad strokes, but some of it is
like Anne
more
Rice.
detailed.
She like describes like the...
No. I agree with Anne Rice. Yeah, Anne Rice describes the feel of the carpet, and which is good. I mean, it really does help you and feel like you're there.
Yeah.
And then again, some people might need that, and then some people might just need the broad strokes, and they fill it in the rest.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, there's a good in between.
Yeah, that's kind of where she falls with it.
So how long ago was it that you read this one? Last time you read it?
Last time I read it was probably 2007-ish. Because it was published in 2006, and I read it when it was published, and then I think I revisited it whenever I had surgery in 2007.
Okay, so you read it and didn't listen. Is there an audiobook of it, or?
I think there is. I've never looked it up to see if there is, but I'm fairly certain there is.
Okay. So, yeah,
Yeah. Oh, and currently, I thought we'd mention what we were currently reading.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because I juggle multiple books at a time.
I usually just one book at a time.
Currently, I'm reading Anne Rice's Prince Lestat and the Realms of Atlantis.
Which I've read that.
And also, I'm reading Barbara Kingsolver, The Poisonwood Bible, which is actually turning out to be interesting and very good.
Okay.
And I was quite surprised.
I don't think I'm reading anything right now, but I can talk about mine when we get there.
Yeah. And I wasn't surprised because Barbara Kingsolver is a bad author or anything. She's a monumentous author. I had not read anything by her, and the stories about missionaries in Africa, and I just really didn't think that would pique my interest. But it actually has.
Okay. So yeah, so definitely would recommend it. I'll see if I can. And it's called Night Watch.
The Night Watch, yeah.
The Night Watch. I'll just look and see if it's on here. On my little search feature here.
Oh, for your
Overdrive, yeah. Audiobooks, because full disclosure, I love to read. I used to read all the time, and it was something that I really enjoyed, but I would read and I would usually fall asleep because I would read in bed, and nowadays I don't even make it. Half the time I'm not even in bed when I go to sleep. I fall asleep on the couch. I wake up and go to bed. So I don't get to read as much as I want to. However, I've got lots of time driving with my job. So
you get to
I get to listen to it a lot, and I thought I wouldn't like it, audiobooks, just having someone read to me, but if you get the right person reading it, it makes all the difference.
Yeah, it can absolutely be a magical experience. I highly recommend audiobooks.
Like that one that I sent you, we won't name the book just because, but the person doing the accents was horrific.
Yeah.
And it made I finally got used to it.
Yeah.
But it took a while because the person that they did to do the different accents of different cultures that were portrayed in the book was just horrific.
Yeah.
Let's see, who's someone that I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed the one that did The Magicians. I can't remember his name. And I also enjoyed the person who did the audiobook for Neil Gaiman's Anansi Boys.
Yeah.
He did a really good job with all the accents and all the different. I mean,
I think I read it. I didn't listen to it yet.
I would recommend listening to it as well if you have like if you have to drive a lot.
Odd Thomas, that series, I listened to that. That was whenever I was driving to Greenville, whenever I worked there. And
I've listened to Odd Thomas.
the actor, I thought, done just a phenomenal job with everything in that book, or those books.
Okay, so I will definitely look into the Night Watch. I'm looking up here, and the author's name again, sorry, is
Sarah Waters.
Sarah Waters. I'm not. Apparently, they have a lot of romance novels called. So it has something with night watching. And
Of course they do.
there it is. Not owned. Recommend. You can add titles that aren't in the collection to your search results, so you can recommend them to the library for purchase. So they don't have it, but I can recommend it.
Yeah, that's cool.
So I will recommend it, because this isn't Audible that I'm on, by the way. And if it's a future sponsor, we'll say, hey, Audible.
Yeah, Audible.
Okay, so that was your story, your book. Okay, that was the dong saying that you were, time's up.
It's your turn.
I'm going to go with, first off, I had a really hard time finding a story that we have both not read. We usually share with each other the stories that we've read or not. And then come to find out, there's several books that Heather hasn't read that I've read and enjoyed. But I want to choose one of, it's actually, it's Neil Gaiman's first novel. He wrote it in 1990 with his friend Terry Pratchett. It's called Good Omens. They shortened it to Good Omens, but the original title was Good Omens, The Nice and Accurate Prophecies of Angus Nutter Witch.
That's quite the title.
It is. All right, so basically, I'm trying to see how best to describe this book. It is a comedy about the apocalypse.
That sounds fantastic.
So basically,
there should be more of that.
Here's the story. There is a demon and an angel that become friends because they're in the world and they see each other a lot, and they say they're not friends, but they are friends. Yeah. The demon's name is Crowley. And I wonder, since this came out in 1990, if they used that demon Crowley for the supernatural.
That's a good question.
For any supernatural fans. And the angel's name, I'm going to have to point it out. Ezraphel?
That's how I would say it.
Ezraphel. We'll say Ezraphel is the angel. And I listened to it on tape, and they actually said it. Basically, Crowley was in charge, and he did what he was supposed to, but there was a mix-up. The Antichrist was born, and he was supposed to switch out the babies, or he was supposed to help with it, and he did his part, but then something else happened, and the Antichrist went to a different family than what they were supposed to. He was supposed to go with his well-to-do senator family, political powerhouse, rich, so that he would become, the Antichrist. Yes.
He wound up with Jessica Lange in Hollywood, right? Nope. That's sorry. Do you know what a reference? Do you know that reference? Yes. Okay, good. I was like, don't leave me alone on this one.
So they get to. So he does that, and then he thinks he did his job, and then come to find out, when the Antichrist comes, basically the angel and the demon don't want the apocalypse to happen.
Maybe we're not supposed to be talking about this. I just had 2 books fall off my bookshelf.
I think it might have been where I was moving things slightly.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Only slightly. They don't want it to happen because they're enjoying what Earth has to happen. But there's a lot of comedy in it. Like there's a weekly meeting with the demons where Crowley meets with 2 other demons, and they go over what souls they corrupted, and the 2 demons are talking about, I corrupted this well-to-do pastor's wife to have an affair, and this one talks about all this horrific thing, and then Crowley goes, oh, I invented the freeway. All those motorists, like they commit one big sin, and he's like, what I'm doing is causing little sins as they're getting madder and madder and madder, and then all these people are going to explode and think of all the sins that it'll have, and they're like, that's not how you're supposed to do it, and it's...
Hey, that's a pretty good way to go, though. I mean, a lot of people at once.
And it's really funny.
Sometimes
and
it's quantity, not quality.
But then, basically, let's see, I'll read a little bit of the synopsis. Comedy about the birth of the son of Satan, the coming of the end times. There are attempts by the angel and demon to sabotage the coming of end times. They've become accustomed to their comfortable surroundings in England. That's not the one that I was wanting to read, sorry. Let me pull up the synopsis that I had that I liked. Alright. Oh, it just restarted on me, sorry. Alright. According to the nice and accurate prophecies of Angus Nutter, the witch, recorded thankfully in 1655 before she blew up her entire village and all its inhabitants who had gathered to watch her burn, the world will end on a Saturday. Next Saturday, in fact. So the armies of good and evil are amassing. The four bikers of the apocalypse are revving up their mighty hogs and hitting the road. The world's last two remaining witch finders are getting ready to fight the good fight, armed with artfully antiquated instructions and stick pins. Atlantis is rising, frogs are falling, tempers are flaring. Everything appears to be going to the divine plan. Except there's an angel and a fast-living demon, each of whom has lived among immortals for many millennia and has grown rather fond of the lifestyle. Crowley and Azrael are going to stop it from happening. They've got to find and kill the Antichrist, which is a shame, as he's a really nice kid. There's just one glitch. Someone seems to have misplaced him. So when it's time for the apocalypse to come, they're all watching this one kid, and it's not him. So then the demons are after Crowley because they think he messed up, and then they're like, well, we want to stop it, so and then they cut back and forth to the actual kid.
Yeah.
And then, he starts developing these powers, and his friends, and
where is he? Is he out like in the Midwest somewhere?
Well, it all takes place in London.
Oh, okay.
So it's all England, and he's like...
I'm so American. Of course it would take place in America.
Right. It's American. America. So he's like in a little suburban area with a nice family, like a normal, typical kid.
Right.
And then, it all boils down to the apocalypse and what's going to happen. And it has a nice little twist, and there is some really funny moments. I don't usually laugh. I usually just chuckle or smile, but I think I laughed out like once or twice during the book.
That's a feat for you, because, you don't. Even
in
movies and stuff.
I get that it's funny, and now it's like, oh, that's funny, ha ha ha.
Yeah, but you typically don't laugh or guffaw or...
I think that, and then there was
exuberance.
There was another book, The Martian, that did it, that I laughed out loud reading it. I laughed out loud.
I'm good. I'm kind of, you
LOL.
You LOL? Mm-hmm. You said that about Agnes Nutter kind of getting hers, and I'm kind of glad she did, like, score one for a witch during the witch trials.
Well,
like after
and they go back to that, and I mean, she did these prophecies, and they're completely accurate. And then they just burned her, and there's comedy there too.
Yeah.
And then like that one synopsis, there's some witch finders. I mean, there's lots of different threads, and you can really see the early stages of Neil Gaiman if you're a Neil Gaiman fan. I've never read anything from Terry Pratchett to see what his influence. I mean, I could see Neil, so I guess the rest would be Terry.
Right.
And I read. And I've heard through interviews with Neil and where he's talked about other books, where he's talked about this book, like A View from the Cheap Seats, where he's talked about his friend Terry Pratchett, and he wrote this, and it was like every night for like 2 months they would like talk to each other and email each other about, and it came out in 1990, so it tells you like chatting with each other. It didn't win any awards for as far as I know. It's a World Fantasy Award nominee.
Still.
I think it's a great book. It was first published May 1st, 1990. Again, I didn't read it, but I listen to the audio, and the person doing the audio was really good.
Did a very good job.
Um,
It kills me whenever people put down audiobooks, though. I'm like, no, like it's a valid way
right.
to consume literature, because not everybody can sit down and read for hours on end. People don't have that kind of time.
Right.
And you can't do it while you're driving, so you may as well listen. I mean, not to get too southern on you.
Why don't you just listen?
Just listen for a minute.
But no, I think it's a really good book. I think the characters are well developed. Obviously, it's Neil Gaiman, so everything he does
is perfect.
He does really well. Big fans of him. Yeah, I would definitely recommend it if you're out there. Grab you a copy, download the audio of it, and you won't be disappointed, because I think it was a really fun book. I can't tell you when there was. When I first found out I could, listen through it with my Bluetooth on the car,
Yeah.
I downloaded scores of books. So I say within the last 2 years is when I've listened to this. And oddly enough, I've listened to more. I say I don't reread books, but I do re-listen
Re-listen to them.
To audiobooks.
I do that as well. Yeah.
I've done that for Anansi Boys, and I've done that for The Magicians, and I've done it. I haven't done it for Good Omens yet, but I may do it again. But I do typically try to re-listen.
Yeah.
To audiobooks, because if they do a good job with
Right. Well, like the Doctor Who audiobooks, I love to listen to those, especially if it's done by the people who played the actors who played the Doctor.
Yes, because I've done that. There are several of them on there where there's David Tennant.
Yeah, it's so fun. They're just, and you can, instead of seeing it all visually, I mean, you can just, because it's a movie in my head whenever I read or listen to books. So I like being able to kind of shape those characters and their surroundings.
And I guess it will go into reading. That's one of the biggest complaints that I hear is like, I just prefer to watch it on movies. But you get so much more.
Yeah, there's so much more if you take it in, either audibly or visually. Reading, visually reading.
To kind of dive in a little bit, because I was on that path of I'd rather watch TV than to do that. What got me was in 4th grade, the teacher, instead of it was like once or twice a week, instead of us going outside and playing, she read us a book.
That's fantastic.
But it wasn't like, your reading book, here's a short story about something that you don't care about. It was it was like My Teacher is an Alien.
Oh.
For a 4th grader.
Yeah.
And I still have that book. And there's like a series of books. That's what got me started. Bridge to Terabithia.
Oh, I loved that book in middle school.
She read that one.
Such a good book.
So I was like 4th grade
Yeah.
when that was introduced to me. And that is what started me on my love of books. And I think if they did that more, and I know it's it's the parents' responsibility, and I totally think it is.
Yeah.
But I think if either they need to pick a better choice of books to read as a selected books, because there's so much that could get the same results that you want them with structure, and
there's a lot of children's literature out there, good children's literature
that could really do some good to these kids that will spark their imagination. And I thank God that she did that, because if she didn't, I probably would have been sitting there like, I hate reading. I don't want to read. I'd rather watch a movie about it.
Yeah. And missing out on so much
there's
stuff.
So many good stories, so many characters that I know so much better now because I read the books or I listened to the audio about,
Yeah.
So that's where my love of reading got sparked, I guess, if I had to pinpoint it.
Right.
What about you?
Oh, gosh. I don't know.
Which, when you are a writer.
Yeah. So, and all that really didn't start until like freshman year for me of high school with writing and stuff.
Just FYI, I've always been one of Heather's biggest fans, because she would always send me her poetry. This is before text and email.
Yeah.
Really. So she would just write it on paper. And I think I still have some of your original poetry.
Yeah.
I have a Heather originals.
So if I'm ever if my writing ever goes anywhere and I get a writing career, then you can be like, hey, I have this in her handwriting, her very poor poor handwriting.
And then they'll be like, on the side of the margin, who's Skeet?
Yeah. Because we have dozens of inside jokes because we have been friends since God was a baby.
High school, but we think there was an earlier time. We both have memories of us going to a park of some sort, like a teacup ride type thing. But
Scrambler. It was a Scrambler.
The Scrambler.
Yeah.
But anyway,
yeah.
I'm digressing. So your
reading,
love of books.
Yeah.
You started writing.
Writing was ninth grade because I used to love to sketch and draw, and like I never really developed that, which is probably a good thing. But the reading, I don't know. I know I read a lot in middle school because I read Bridge to Terabithia in 7th grade like 4 times. I don't know what it was. Something about that book.
Did you ever watch the movie?
Nope.
I refused.
I adamantly
just
refused.
Out of principle. I'm like, I'm not watching it because they're going to do something horrible with it.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to like it.
Yeah.
Because some books you just don't touch.
Mm-hmm. And that book I loved way too much. But
I own a copy from when I was a kid.
Oh, that's really cool.
When I was doing my internship with the school system, they had me sorting like through like a donation closet of like stuff.
Yeah.
And it was in a book. It was an old school that they've converted into this, like the top floor was their, like for kids, like coats and, shoes and stuff that people's donated clothes for kids. So it was all a mess. So I was sorting through it. But downstairs were all these old library books that they were going to be getting rid of. Like they were just going to throw them away.
Yeah.
And I went through them and I found an old, like it had the whole barcode, Dewey Decimal System.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Of Bridge to Terabithia. And it's in my son's bookshelf up high where he can't get it and mess up with it. When he's ready for it, he will read it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got that.
That's awesome. I couldn't imagine. Like the closest story I have to something like that is, do you remember in the mall where the toy store used to be?
KB Toys?
Yeah, outside of Penny's.
Uh-huh.
Well, after that closed and they moved, they had a book fair there of old books. And I got a first edition for $1 of Anne Rice's The Vampire Lestat.
Oh, okay.
For $1, just randomly found it, and it was actually my 5th grade teacher, Miss Carter, who sold me the book, which was just kind of cool. Because I was like, "Hey, Miss Carter," and looking at books, and then I come across this for $1, and it's a hardcover. Yeah, it's a hardcover. It's not even paperback. So that's my closest story to something like that.
So sorry, I interrupted you again. So you were doing doodling and art and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But your first love of books,
I guess I would have to say,
if you could pinpoint it,
I would have to say middle school at some point is whenever I started becoming a heavy reader.
Okay.
Writing came later due to an English teacher demanding we all write a poem. And I did, and I don't have it now, which, like, sticks in my craw, but...
Wish she did.
Yeah. Yeah, it had to be sometime during middle school. The closest I can get to that.
Yeah, mine, that was fourth, and I think they did it again in 5th grade, but I know it was a 4th grade teacher, because she read, because, I mean, it was like the whole school year, so we got through a couple of books. I know we did My Teacher is an Alien, and it was like a 3 or 4 book series. So like I went on and read the rest of them. And I think and then Bridge to Terabithia, and then I got into Encyclopedia Brown, and then just from there I just kept reading and reading and reading.
Now I did. Speaking, you said the word encyclopedia. I did used to sit around and read the encyclopedia. Like I didn't like go cover to cover, but I would just pick one at random.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever read
a few things from it?
Do you prefer fiction or nonfiction?
Fiction, all the way.
Okay. I don't know. I've heard I listened to other podcasts and they've talked about other books that are nonfiction that are really well done, like historical events or historical things. And
absolutely. Well, being a history major, I read a lot of nonfiction, which I think is why mentally I prefer fiction recreationally
Now,
speaking.
since you're talking about encyclopedias, there's a there was one of the things that we're talking about in nonfiction, that one bookstore that I mentioned to you before the podcast, Powell's in Portland.
Mm-hmm.
They have a lot of language things, and there's lots of nonfiction books of why do we say that and the origin of words. And
See, stuff like that's what I would love to study. Like those little minute
why we
things
say what
that,
we say.
Yeah, that you'll never ever get funding for. Those are the things I think I said something one day about I want to study random things like the origin of the sigh in English literature and the progression of the sigh in English literature and how sighing is used in literature. Exactly. Because it relays so many different emotions.
Well, even just the pop culture references and just, talking about this podcast and just the use of the vernacular and slang terms, even in Shakespeare, do you bite your thumb at me? And, no, I just bite my thumb at you. So,
Yeah.
Like that was an insult,
Yeah.
biting your thumb. And, like,
Shakespeare used so much slang, and it was so fantastic. And like, you have people who are like, oh, like I've literally heard it said that using slang is a sin. Not by educational people, but by people who are religious people.
Mm-hmm.
Which surprised me, and I still don't understand it. And it's not something I've ever looked up. But then I'm like, these are the same people that criticize Shakespeare and say that he was probably a homosexual and people shouldn't read him. So
I mean, he's got guys in dresses. For crying out
exactly.
loud.
And then you use logic on them with things like, well, women weren't allowed to play in the theater; they couldn't be actors. Well, that doesn't matter.
Yeah, they were still.
That's
doing
not
it.
true. Or like what? No. Just no.
Okay, we're going down a path here. Let's write it here. What I've read recently or currently reading, I'm not reading anything currently. What I've recently read, I recently read or listened to Stephen King book 11/22/63, which was really good.
I watched the miniseries on Hulu.
I would recommend the book more. I watched the first episode. I think I mentioned in the first podcast.
Yeah.
I could not get through it.
Yes.
I walked away. I didn't even finish the episode. What was the other thing? I've got on hold. It's a collection of short stories by different authors. It's Doctor Who, 12 Doctors, 12 short stories. And each author is handling a short story on each incarnation of the Doctor.
That sounds very interesting.
And one of them is Neil Gaiman, and I think it's the same story that he did for his short story book, Trigger Warnings.
Oh, okay.
So his would be the 11th Doctor.
Yes.
But they've added, because last year she had 11 Doctor, because the new edition of Peter Capaldi, she got another author to do the 12th Doctor story. So it's on here now. They didn't have the 11th one, so she's got 12 popular authors to each write a short story based on each carnation of that Doctor.
That should be really good.
So
you'll have to let me know how that is.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the 4th Doctor, and then obviously the 9th and 10th, and Capaldi, the 12th, the ones that we're more familiar with.
Right.
It's on hold, and then I listened to a lot of different things, but those are the ones that I've recently listened to. So we've got a couple books for you then to read. And we've named a few other ones, The Night Watch, and I've named Good Omens, and we've talked about some other books.
Bridge to Terabithia, anything by Anne Rice, anything by Neil Gaiman.
Yeah, which brings us to the book that we're going to recommend, and it's not just one book. Ha, we tricked you.
It's a great mini.
It's a collection of comic books by Neil Gaiman. If you haven't figured that out, we'll name drop him more.
Yeah.
Neil Gaiman wrote a comic book series called The Sandman, and it kind of updated. Well, it didn't update. It was kind of bringing back the lore from the earlier Golden Age Sandman, who had a gas mask and put criminals to sleep with a gas gun. He was called Sandman, and he incorporated that into his story. This all takes place in the DC universe. It was under the Vertigo,
yes,
Vertigo label under DC Comics, which the
Vertigo
was
does what they do also Lucifer, right?
They did Lucifer, the spinoff from Sandman.
Yeah.
They also do Hellblazer, which you all would know from Constantine.
Yes.
They
And Constantine is actually in Sandman briefly.
Yes, and they have the DC universe is at play here, but it's also its own separate story. They just use that as a background piece for it. Was 75 issues. Then there was a few filler issues, as well as he recently did a 8-issue follow-up, which was technically a prequel to this start of this series, which was also pretty well.
Have you read it?
Yes.
I have not.
I have it, and I need to give it to you because I thought I was giving you each issue as it came out, or did I wait? I was going to wait for it all.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got all.
I'm also a year behind, 2 years behind, I think, on
Walking Dead.
The Walking Dead.
So there are so many different stories and subplots to Sandman.
Yes. Just yes.
How about this? I will go over the first story arc of the Sandman just to kind of give you a little taste, and then you all please go out and get these. They have these in trade paperbacks. I'm looking at one that Heather has here. It's volume 1, which is issues 1 through 20, and it is a very thick book. I have all of the trades, and I also am trying to get each comic itself, because these came out in the early 90s.
That's a lofty goal.
There were 75. I think I've got, not in order because some of them are broken up. So, I mean, I think I've got about 30 or 40 of them.
Oh, yeah?
Between 30 and 40
You're
of
going to end up having to...
Well, see, there was a room... Well, they're just comic. I mean, you know.
Right.
I've got...
But you have a lot of comics.
I do. I have 6 big not shoe boxes, but the comic...
The long comic boxes?
Yes. Full of comics, and I've got a couple of drawers full of them that I haven't been able to had time to put them over to there. But I've got Sandman is the only comic that I have, and the trades that are with my other books, like my actual reading books.
Yes.
I've taken them out of the comics, and I'm not one of those that's like, comics aren't reading. Comics is a wonderful tool for reading.
Absolutely.
If you have kids that are reading comics, encourage it, because some of those stories are very great and moving, just like we're talking about with this Sandman story. Please encourage them to read. Let them read anything that will spark their interest and creativity.
We need more of that. We're losing it.
I don't know. We
As
say
a
that,
person,
and then
as a person with children, I feel like we're losing it.
I don't know. I think maybe it's just where we're getting old and we think every generation isn't doing it, and then we find out that you see statistics that, that more kids are reading,
Yeah, maybe, but I'm old and cranky and refuse to believe any new statistics.
It's all fake news.
It's all fake news. Hashtag ding dong, you're dead.
Ding dong, you're dead. Okay, so Sandman tells the story of... trying to see how I could summarize it. This is all on the cuff here. I've not had any prep work for this at all. We literally just said, what we want to talk about that we both read. And I said, let's do Sandman.
Yes, so...
Okay, Sandman tells the story. It begins with this occult group who are trying to trap the embodiment of death. They're doing a ritual to summon death and bind her control so that they could live forever. They do the ritual, and
because that's something you should want
to do. Yes, to live forever or to trap death. Both. So they do the spell, and they did not capture death, but they captured her younger brother Dream, which introduces you to Dream. This all takes place in the 1930s, and they hold him in there for 70 years.
Until one of them dies, right?
No, what happens is that...
It's been so long.
What happens is that the person who does it, and he has these items of power, these totems of power that he's created. One of them is a helmet. One of them is his bag of sand. And the other one is his ruby dreamstone. They take all those, and someone from each one of the cult that does it, they each take it and go with it. Now the father, he dies. He literally waits him out, but his son continues to keep him there. It's his son that the son knows about it. He keeps on doing it, and what happens is that after his son is almost old age, what happens is that his son comes visits him. The son visits Dream, and he is in a wheelchair, and as they're turning him away, he scoffs the barrier of the circle that the Dream is caught in, and that's just enough for Dream to escape.
Okay.
So he escapes, and he puts a curse on the son where he would just have continuing nightmares. He wakes up and he's in a nightmare. He wakes up, he's in a nightmare, and and there's a nightmare, and then once,
which is horrible.
That's all he has is just continuing nightmares throughout all of his life. The Dream goes back to his kingdom, the dreaming, and finds it in shambles where he's not been there to keep it up. All of his creatures that he's created, some of them have abandoned him. You get to meet a lot of the future characters, and you get started with some of the points of the story. So I guess I am kind of spoiling this for everyone.
Yeah.
Because I want to talk about just the first thing, but I'm not going to go into more than that because there is so much to dive into, and I'm just doing broad strokes on this story.
He has siblings.
Trust me, I'm not doing this any justice. Yes, you find out. I don't think you find out here, but you do find out he is a sibling of Death, but he is one of what is called the Endless, one of 7 aspirations or different aspects these siblings inherit. First is destiny, then death, then dream, then desire and destruction.
Delirium?
Wait, no. Dream is third, destruction is fourth, then desire and despair, then delirium is the youngest.
Okay.
And they say she's the youngest, but she's older than the stars.
Yeah.
But she's the youngest sibling. So,
right.
So we got destiny, death, dream, destruction, despair, desire, and delirium.
Yes. Good job.
I'm pulling this all out of my
hat. Your hat. You're pulling it out of your hat that you don't wear.
So basically, he goes back to the dreaming. He kind of recoups enough of his strength. He needs his items because they are his items of power because he's infused them with parts of himself. So without them for that long, he is himself.
And that's
weakened.
where Constantine comes in.
That's the first thing he looks for is his sand, his pouch of sand, and he recruits Constantine to help him find it. This one was not. Sorry, I'm flipping through this as we go, not to kind of help refresh my memory. The one with Constantine isn't that difficult. It turns out Constantine's ex had it, and she was using it to get high in the sense of the euphoric dreams, and the sand was causing the walls. And at first you think that the dreams are going to try to hurt Dream when he shows up, but then he sets them straight. It's like, I am your Lord and Master. Do not, don't mess with me, basically.
Yeah.
And they recognize him like, oh, so sorry. He's able to do the dreams and do a solid for Constantine by letting her have a pleasant death. Because without the sand keeping her alive, because she's not been eating, she's been in the bed. The sand is what's been keeping her alive. So he gives her one last reprieve so that she can die at peace. The next one is what he considers is one of the hardest ones. The helmet was given to a demon in hell for protection, and so he goes into the realm of hell to get it back. And this is where this is not like a typical comic. When you think of comics, you think of spandex superheroes punching each other through walls.
This is none of that.
This is a thinking man's.
Yeah. There's no spandex cape wearing superheroes in this. More of a graphic novel.
So Dream
than a comic book.
So Dream goes to hell. We are introduced to Edrin, the rhyming demon, which if you are familiar with DC Comics, he's one of the more prolific demons in DC Comics. And then you go see the Lords of Hell, where you meet Lucifer, who does a spinoff eventually.
Yes.
And there are three Lords of Hell. There's Lucifer, Beelzebub, and I can't remember the last one's name. Beelzebub, the Lord of Flies.
And I'm no good at this because I'm terrible with names when they're real people. So,
but okay. Anyway, dreams come for it. Has come for his helmet, and so basically Lucifer says, "I'm going to call all the demons, and you can show us which demon has your helmet." And he finds the demon. The demon has it, and he says, "I want it back." And he says, "I've broken no laws by even hell's rules. Yeah, I was traded to mortal for it fairly. It's mine to have." And he says, "If you want it precious back, you must fight me for it." So if you're thinking about comics, you think of they're going to actually have like a fisticuffs fight. But what they do is they have a fight of reality, assert reality, where they each talk about something and the other one has to counter, and it becomes reality. An example is, I'm pulled it up. The first move, "I'm a dire wolf, prey-stalking, lethal prowler," and then that was the demon's first move. So Shadow comes back and says, "I'm a hunter, horse-mounted, wolf-stabbing," to which it comes back to say, "I'm a horsefly, stinging, hunter, throwing." See, there's just like a counter move for each one, and then it's where it gets really good. There's two really good moments. It ends up, Dream tries to pull him into a trap where he says, "I am a world, space floating, life nurturing." So the demon comes back and says, "I am a nova, all exploding, a planet cremating." And then Dream comes back and says, "I am the universe, all things encompassing, all life embracing." And you're like, oh, okay, he's got it.
Yeah.
And then the demon comes back and says, "I am anti-life, the beast of judgment. I am the dark at the end of everything, the end of universes, gods, worlds, of everything." So everyone's like, oh, we got him. It's like, what else can you do that? So Dream comes back and says, "I am hope."
Which, there's where you get the chills.
And he can't think of anything. So if he can't come up with something, he loses. And then he wins.
Dream wins.
Dream wins. He comes back to the demon and says, "I don't know." So he takes his helmet. And obviously they refer to Dream as different things. And
He
like
has many
Morpheus,
names. Yes.
things of that nature. It says, I'll just read this part. I know I'm reading this to you, so I'm the gripping of the seat of podcast right here. But it needs to be done because I want to give it justice. When he gets his helmet, Dream says, "I thank you, the kings of hell. The kings of hell are honorable. I will remember this." "Honorable? You joke, surely. Look around you, Morpheus. The million lords of hell stand about you. Tell us why we should let you leave. Helmet or no, have you no power here? You have no power here. What power have dreams in hell?" And then, this is where the other chill part comes. "You say I have no power. Perhaps you speak truly, but you say that dreams have no power here? Tell me, Lucifer, Morning Star, ask yourselves, all of you, what power would hell have if those here in prison were not able to dream of heaven?" And then, mic drop. And the crowds part, and he leaves.
Because it's true.
And then we go into the last part. He's got two of the three items. He comes into this other character who was a main villain in DC Comics, Dr. Destiny, who has his ruby gemstone. And basically they fight. basically the stone keeps absorbing more of Dream, and to the point where you think that he is going to beat Dream, but he absorbs so much of Dream that it shatters the stone, and all the power is released, and it goes back to Dream because Dream is him. And it ends with a very interesting story. At the very tail end, it introduces you to his sister, which is Death. But it's not the Death that you know. Or that you would think of, because at this point you think of Death as like the skeleton in the robes and the darkness and the sigh. And this one's a bubbly, happy-go-lucky goth girl.
I love all the vignettes with Death that take place over the course of this series. And she, of course, has one of my favorite lines ever. You get what anyone gets. You get a lifetime.
She's feeding the birds, and he goes with her. The flapping of her wings is what it's called. It's really good. I think she even quotes Mary Poppins, doesn't she?
At some point, she does, yes.
I'm just skimming through it. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. If you ever want to know how that's spelled, there you go.
Just look in the Neil Gaiman books.
And then she also throws on some sunglasses and says Peachy Keen.
Yep.
And this is Death we're talking about.
And she's kind of a goth girl. Dark hair, pale skin.
She's got an ankh.
Yeah,
charm.
she wears the ankh around her neck. Black clothes.
And basically she's saying, if you had asked, I would have come and helped you. And Dream is very solemn, very no.
He's his own man.
So she kind of sets him straight, and lots of stuff from these stories that I've skimmed over they hint at for future stories. And then it's 75 issues. This one, I think if I'm not mistaken, ends with issue 11 or 12, the first run. And then it goes on to the next one. Sandman 8. This is what that one is. So the first appearance so it was 8 issues of the first arc. So that was just a brief synopsis, but there's so much different stories, so much that plays back into it. You get to see William Shakespeare. There's a bunch of it on that. You get to meet these other siblings and what they do. I feel like
Jesus is there at one point.
I think I've talked about this.
Other planets are there.
I think I've talked more about it than you. So what do you like about the Sandman?
All of it.
Okay, so that was me trying to throw, because I felt like I talked too much. So I gave Heather, what do you like about it? I like all of it.
We know that Death is my favorite. Delirium scares the shit out of me.
Delirium does?
Yes.
The youngest one?
Yes.
Okay.
Like, everything about her in there is so visceral and just so, like, frightening to me. It's that art that isn't beautiful. It's that art that makes you uncomfortable, which is sometimes art's purpose, is to make you uncomfortable and make you think. And Delirium does that for me. Now, Desire, he's a bitch.
She.
Yeah, depending on the day.
Like if I thought, and here's the thing that we are so hoping they never do, is make this into a movie.
Yeah.
Because they've talked about it. Oh gosh, have they talked about it? And Neil Gaiman has been on it, and I'm a little bit more comfortable with American Gods, how they treated American Gods, if they made it into a TV show as opposed to a movie. Because trying to fit what I just told you would have been impossible hardly to do for a 2-hour movie.
Yeah. There was way too many details.
And that was me skimming through it. And most of that was from my memory, except for what I read, because I wanted to make sure I had it down right. But it's just impossible. I think it's one of those that's impossible to do for that short of, for that much content. You'd have to have multiple movies. And if the first movie doesn't do well, then they're not going to do it. I think if you did a TV show, I would be more inclined, especially if you had the kind of care and love that they did for American Gods.
Yeah, I agree. And this could be like a Doctor Who length TV show. Like it could run for more than 50 years with just with the content alone in it. Not that the actors could actually do that, because it's not like they have the luxury of the Doctor.
They've gotten around that though. In the books. Well, we won't go into too much of it, but
right. But I mean, it could go on a long time.
And this is where
if done properly.
This story, the Sandman, because I read comics. Sandman is what introduced me to Neil Gaiman. and what he is capable of in just the few short pages of a comic book, what he can show and produce and make me feel in that short period of time is what made me fall in love with his other stories, and where I wanted to consume everything that he has done. I think I've read almost everything except for like maybe Coraline is the only book that I've not like of his major works. But I, Sandman is what started it off, and like I said, it's the one that I actually hold with my other novels, like
yes.
as something
your
that
book collection. It's in your book collection, not your comic collection.
Right.
Yeah.
Anything else on Sandman?
I think we've covered it, and we've, really given it a lot of love. I was trying to think of something very clean to say.
A lot of love. Okay. All right. So we'll end up with the book review, and we'll end with saying, let us know what your favorite book is. Is there a book that you just treasured, that you cherished and treasured, and it's cherished?
Yeah.
That you loved so much that you would hate for it to become a book?
Become a movie?
The book become a movie or a TV show. We talked about two here. We were talking about Sandman. We don't want it to happen. And we also talked about Bridge to Terabithia. They did it.
Yeah,
and we refused to watch it because we don't want it to sully what we had. So let us know in the comments. Send us an email. Drop us a line. We have several ways of reaching us. We'll go over all that at the end. But just drop us a line. Let us know what you like. What stories.
And absolutely read my book, Clelica and Other Journeys, for your summer reading.
Yeah, do a plug.
By me, H.D. Russell. You can find it on Amazon and Amazon Kindle.
Wherever books are sold.
And yes, you can order it at your local bookstore.
On Amazon. All right, so we're going to move to Would You Rather. We're going to do 4 rounds.
4 rounds. I got 4 cards.
All right, so I think I went first last.
I went first last time.
You did go first?
Yeah,
Okay.
so you go first this time.
I'll go first. All right. All right. Would you rather eat nothing but bland nutrient pills and add 10 years to your life, or eat delicious foods at every meal but shave 5 years from your life?
Delicious foods for every meal.
So you would rather cut off 5 years?
I'm a former smoker. I'm sure I've already done that anyway, so...
So you're just wanting to hit the gas pedal all the way to the ground then? Let's
yeah.
just go.
Steak every day. Steak every day.
Eat delicious foods. But that's not even saying... I mean, you could eat delicious foods and shave 5 years of your life in general.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, these things could actually happen. I don't know. I think I would do add 10 years.
Yeah, but what's 10 years? Is that going to be quality 10 years?
I don't know. That's a good question. 10 years to your life, so that'd be at the end.
And all I can think is that Queen song from friggin' Who Wants to Live Forever, whatever,
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, from Highlander. Well,
Highlander,
yeah. I think I would go with I would add 10 years.
Really?
Yeah. As much as I complain, I think I'm not done yet. And I think if I could get every minute more than I can, I think I would do it.
I mean, if I'm not going to die till I'm 80, what's 75?
I don't know. Maybe something happens between 75 and 80 that you never got to experience.
I mean, you could be right.
You never know.
I might finally, get to meet Renee O'Connor. Who knows?
Who knows? Okay, so...
My turn.
Your turn.
Would you rather travel everywhere in a giant robot or on the back of a fire-breathing dragon?
Oh. Dragon.
Yeah.
It's more of a statement.
Yeah, dragon.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but I'm thinking about taking out the dragon. Let's get to work.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm quoting Angel.
That's immediately where my mind went.
Which in the comics that tell the story afterwards, just going on a tyrant here,
doesn't he
become friends with the dragon?
That's what,
and he names it Cordy.
Of course he does. Of course he does.
So yeah, the dragon the whole way. I mean, the giant robot. I think, I mean, just go, if I'm going to try to put logic to a giant rope, I mean, besides the dragon looking cooler, I think there'd be more property damage by doing a robot
Yeah.
walking through as opposed to I'm flying over everything. Look how awesome I am as this dragon breathes fire. Ha ha ha.
Yeah. I see you, tiny villager.
I'm not going to try to hurt people. What do you?
I wasn't saying.
Look at you, tiny villager.
I wasn't saying you were going to hurt them. I was just saying you could see them from great heights.
Okay. All right, it's my turn.
Your turn.
All right. Would you rather expose terrible government secrets but live as a fugitive, or change your past? I can't talk tonight. I'm sorry. Change your past but never find true love.
Change my past.
And you don't want to find your true love?
No.
Okay. I'll leave it at that.
I'm not. I don't want to.
I'm not bitter.
My main motivation for that is I'm not exposing any kind of government secrets. Like, jail scares the shit out of me. Like, I would rather be set on fire.
It never says that you get caught. It says exposed.
You'd have to live as a fugitive.
Yeah,
that means like pooping in the woods.
You never know. Maybe you.
That don't mean living it up in the Ukraine.
And you go live in a non-extradition country.
I mean, if there's sandy beaches.
You've looked up how to change your ID.
I have. It's true.
A new identity. You've planned ahead. There's a file on you in NSA. It's all good. They're already coming for you.
So I may as well my choice has already been made, I reckon.
All right, my choice. I'm the hopeless romantic, so I couldn't give up my true love. So I would be a fugitive. Your turn.
Oh, my turn. Yes. Look at you picking up another
I was
card.
going to. I'm not.
All right. Oh.
No. Shaking her head.
Would you rather have your life scripted by Quentin Tarantino or by David Lynch?
I'm not comfortable saying that many N-words, so I'm going to go with David Lynch.
I mean, maybe you should.
Although I do want to meet Samuel L. Jackson in my lifetime, so if I ever wanted to, I'm living...
I mean, I don't know. That's tough. Because...
Let me look up David Lynch's.
Well, I mean, David Lynch, you got stuff like Twin Peaks, Mulholland Drive,
right?
Lost Highway.
right.
That's Dune. There's one for you, Dune. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But oh gosh,
it'd be kooky and it would be weird and different. I will give him that.
I would probably have to go with David Lynch just because with Tarantino, there's too much inward.
Yeah.
And too much blood.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, if I cut myself shaving, I'm going to be like a geyser for like 10 minutes.
Yeah. And I used to work in the OR. Like, I cleaned up
blue velvet
bloods and bones and guts and stuff for a living. And I still choose David Lynch. I think I'm going to go with that.
Twin Peaks. Yeah, I could do that. I wouldn't say I would enjoy it, but I mean, between the two, yeah.
If forced to choose.
All right. Okay. Would you rather have the head of Frankenstein's monster or have his body? So basically, it's like your body on
Frankenstein's.
Frankenstein's head on your body, or Frankenstein's body with your head. There's a tiny head on a big body.
It's really funny either way, picturing it.
It'd be top heavy with the Frankenstein head.
It's true. Like, I don't know that my body could support that. So I would have to. I guess I would have to go with my head on his body.
Your head on his body.
Yeah,
I'd go with that one because there's, it would look funny, but you'd have all of his strength. If you could go by different lores, he's stronger.
Yeah.
And he could take off his arm and.
I'll beat you with the wet end of my arm. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that one's pretty. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so
And would you rather react to members of the opposite sex like a dog reacts to a squirrel, or have laser...
girl.
Damn it. Or would you rather have laser pointers in your eyes that reveal whatever you look at? Like reveal to me or reveal to everybody?
Everyone laser pointer, so it'd be like. And
Okay. I was totally not.
Like if I'm wherever I'm looking,
It's like a dot.
It'll be a dot where he's looking at that. He's looking at that.
He's looking at that.
Let me see that. So the first one is react to members of the opposite sex like a dog reacts to a squirrel. Okay, so I was reacting to up if you didn't figure that out. Girl. So it'd be like, hey, girl, how are you? hey.
I guess as long as I wouldn't have to be a heterosexual, I would go with the react like a dog.
I know I'm supposed to give my answer first, and then you.
Oh, sorry. I thought you already gave your answer.
No, I was just choosing. I don't think I would want to know where I'm looking at.
Yeah, no.
So
People don't need to know what I'm looking at.
Okay, I'll go with the act like a squirrel.
Yeah.
It's easier, I guess, for you since your opposite sex doesn't really.
Yeah.
Guy. Guy.
Yeah. They'd just be like, "What is wrong with her?"
Give me my space, guy.
Oh, that would. Oh, I want to do that in public one day now and just film it and see what happens.
Okay, so last one, mine. Would you rather be able to control fish but have fish eyes, or control insects but have spider mandibles? Well, spiders are arachnids, so why would you have... I don't know. It's stupid. I don't know. It's stupid.
I'm gonna go with the fish.
I'll go with the fish too because you can put on some glasses.
Yeah.
Sunglasses.
And I mean, I can't swim, so it would be fun, like to control.
You're Aquaman.
Yeah, it'd be fun for me to be able to do that.
Hey, I'll watch it. And they just jump.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go with the fish because the mandibles of that would not be pretty.
No.
Okay. Last one for you.
Okay. Would you rather spit out gold coins whenever someone kicks you in the crotch, or dispense lottery scratchers whenever you punch someone in the face?
Like, what's the amount on the lotto scratchers?
It doesn't say whether they would be winners or losers. So I mean,
is it just like, kicked or hit? Because my son, I would be so wealthy right now.
When someone kicks you in the crotch, you spit out gold coins, or you take the calculated risk of dispensing lottery scratchers, which may or may not be winners.
It doesn't say they're winning scratchers. They just say you just dispense
them whenever you punch someone in the face. And then you go to jail and you don't get to get the scratcher anyway.
I don't know. I could make it a party game. Like, hey, watch this. I want to punch you in the face, and some lotto scratchers are going to appear.
Yeah.
Watch. It's amazing. Well, it doesn't say how hard either. It says punch.
No, yeah. Yeah.
Maybe we'll do a light tap.
Yeah.
I was going to say, if you talk any kind of hit to the groin, my son, I would be...
He has, like, deadly aim for your...
I would be the wealthiest man alive.
Yeah.
I'll go with the punch thing because maybe I can spin it to where I'm like, I just got to barely tap you. It doesn't say how hard. Like, if it says punch someone as hard as you can in the face, and you get then... Right.
It just says punch.
Like, if I can just do, like, a little tap, and there's lotto scratchers, then there's a chance you could win.
Yeah. And you could split them. Be like, here, let me punch you in the face, and we'll split them. These lotto scratchers that are going to come out of my body somehow.
This is they dispense. I don't know where they dispense from.
They dispense forth from your person.
Is there something behind your ear? Okay, so what would you choose?
I don't know. Like, I could get pretty rich by letting somebody kick me in the crotch.
Well, it doesn't say how many. I know gold is going up.
Yeah.
But my gosh. I mean, I could be just...
I don't gamble.
Persuaded to do the gold coins because that's guaranteed money.
Yeah.
So
right in your hand.
Maybe Maybe do that. I may change my answer. And just like once a year
Mm-hmm.
get kicked in the crotch really hard. Whatever.
Right, like set aside a day where every member of your family just kicks you in the crotch.
And I'll give you one coin that comes out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Not even that. I'm the one who's going through all of it. And then I got to cough up coins. I don't know how pleasant that would be. On top of getting kicked in the crotch.
Exactly. See, I just imagined it like Mad Sweeney. Like, you know how he can just make them.
Up here.
Yeah, so I just figured you'd be like, and there's some
good coins.
gold doubloons.
All right. Okay, so that will end another wonderful round of Would You Rather. And as we wrap up next week, we will try to meet again. And I don't know what we'll discuss next week.
We're gonna make it up. We're gonna come up with something.
We might go back to Buffy. We may just abandon it altogether.
Mm-hmm.
We keep saying we're going to do Buffy. I don't know. We'll see. We'll let you know.
Yeah. Maybe we could discuss the Doctor Who season finale. Did you all watch that? Oh
It
my
was very
gosh!
good. Or we could start talking about Preacher, which started last week, which is
Yes.
also very good. Are you watching it? So we got some different things. We may continue to talk about some books too here and there, and other TV shows and movies.
And let us know your summer reading list. Tweet at us at Reach the Mass, MAS.
That's a good segue to, you can reach us at Twitter at Reach the Mass. You can email us at reachthemass@gmail.com.
We have a Tumblr, Reach the Masses Podcast. Just search it.
Okay. We're on iTunes. We're on archive.org. There's lots of ways for you to reach us. So please do let us know.
And YouTube. Can't forget the YouTube.
Yes, we're on the YouTubes. Let us know what you think. Tell us what stories really moved you, made you laugh, cry, all that good emotional stuff. What some of your favorite authors are.
Give us something to read.
Yeah, give us your recommendation of someone that
Read or listen to.
Yeah, that you would think that we would enjoy. I think between the both of us, we have a very large field of stuff that we both like. I think I'm going to cut that part out because I don't know what I'm saying. But there's lots of ways for you to reach out to us. Please do so, and we would love to hear from you. If we get enough questions, we might read some of your questions on the podcast.
Do a little Q&A.
Yeah, a little Q&A. A little Q for our A. A little A for our Q. There we go. Even better.
Sorry, I was doing T&A in my mind, so
I know.
I'd already left.
I know.
I'd already left mentally.
Eyes glazed over, and I lost you. All right, so that'll do it for this week. Until then, I'm Travis.
And I'm Heather.